get started. Thank you guys so much for coming to the webinar, the MDCE webinar. If you want to become, I know a lot of you guys are, some of you guys are in different stages. Some of you guys are like still preparing for the steps. Some of you guys have already done with the steps. But whether if you want to transition to a physician role in the state of Washington, it's called MDCE, but actually they're technically physicians, and you guys are physicians. So today, Dr. Bhumkar is let me a little bit introduce Dr. Bhumkar, and she can introduce herself as well. But Dr. Bhumkar is the Divisional CMO of Chief Medical Officer of Altea Healthcare. She's an internal medicine physician, and she's an IMG herself as well. She's one of our Altea Healthcare is one of our biggest partners, and they've hired Dr. Bhumkar, how much I said 30, 40 right now? I'm like
Yeah, you're right. 40, almost 40.
40 IMGs serving patients around the country. So I'm just so excited for her to talk about, and she's a great teacher from what I hear from, the doctors. Sometimes I want to quit my job to work for her and learn from her as well. So I will let her take the, reins. Dr. Bumkar, welcome. Please introduce yourself and excited to have you.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you for that warm welcome. Yes, I am a foreign medical graduate, and that's the reason I'm sitting in this seat here, trying to give you a small talk and, pep you up and give you some confidence about the pathways that have been created, which were not new for the last 5 years, but they are brand new to me. Correct. So I'm a foreign graduate. I graduated from my med school back in 2001, and I moved to the US the same year. Uh, Finished my USMLE steps and all that, ECFMG certification, did a internal medicine training, completed that in 2009. And since then to now, graduated through different programs, correct? I did hospital medicine fellowship. It's a 1 year fellowship, and then went on a track for hospital medicine, did that for a decade. Then I also practiced as an outpatient physician, internal medicine, did that for 4 years. And now, for the last almost 4 years to 5 years, I've been in this space called post-acute medicine, which a lot of us from foreign countries are not familiar with. And I want to talk more about that as we continue this talk today, is how to get you adjusted to that space. And Mo's right, we are the largest IMG hiring company currently in the state of Washington, probably in Florida and Illinois too. And I personally have onboarded about 30 foreign medical graduates just in the span of last 2 and 3 months. And so I'm able to give you a real-time perspective about how people are doing from a foreign country when they come to the US, what challenges they're meeting. But overall, credentials don't really matter. I'm only here because I have had a very similar experience like each of you, and I'm so passionate to give out now at this stage in my life to help people like you guys, all of you, to onboard and be successful. So, having said that, I prepared a few slides because visually it really helps to look at it. Probably you'll have questions, and what I've created right now is something I did late last night. So I apologize if this is scattered out, and if too much information, always reach out to Mo and he can connect with me. But typically what I'm looking at this, like he's showing right now, is that, I do believe that the tracks that are available, one of them is an MDCE. The full form is medical doctors in training for clinical experience, correct? And that CE stands for clinical experience pathway. And that's what we're doing in Washington. I'll talk more about it. But this is a door. The title that I've created mindfully is only because I feel like there's a door that's opened and is opening. And Mo has been a he has played a large role, Mo and his company, to get that going for us, right? I mean, if I was you today, 20 plus years now, I would definitely have even listened to it and taken that as an option. So the doors opening for our pathways, and this is my credentials here, a lot of credentials. That's pretty typical for 20 plus years tenure. But we can go to the next slide. I can talk. So the next slide pretty much says the next one more. It talks about we have about like
Mm.
7 people today right now, and it talks about how many people have actually applied for a match, or how many people have applied for a match and they haven't
Sorry,
matched.
Dr.
Yeah.
Bhumkar.
Are you able to move it?
Let's see.
If you enter the space, it might go next. Or
Screen
I'm not.
shares. Okay, I think some. Oh, sorry about that. Let's see. It should be better right now.
If you do the slideshow part here on
Okay.
top, the slideshow. If you do slideshow, yeah, there you go. Yeah, so this is the basic slide, right? I mean, this is a very, I'm not giving a lecture here, but I wanted to have a conversation with you guys as I run through the slide and be happy. Like, I'm not, if you want to just chime in and ask a question, I'm okay with that because it's a very informal discussion we are having today. But mainly it starts with the picture of, what happens, like, do we match, do we not match? If we have matched, do we really want to go in the field that we matched or the location that we matched? And that's where I really wanted to start from. Next one, maybe I can just quickly go through it. The next slide more.
Uh, this is
Next question. Yeah, it's
peace.
not working.
Yeah, it's for some reason like okay, let's see. Yeah, for some reason it's like my button is not working. Peace, do you want to take it over? Okay. Because I'm doing a slideshow.
Do you want me to share it?
Okay.
Uh, yeah, let me try
Yeah,
it.
because
Uh,
yeah, for some reason like I don't know. Like when I press next, it's yeah, now it's working a little bit faster.
oh yeah, it's working. So there you go. That's
Okay.
fine. So we were talking
Okay.
about the match, and the next slide talks mostly about what the process is typically for us as foreign medical graduates. It's a pretty standard process. This is generally like a track traditional pathway that we take, right? I mean, we go to medical school back in our countries, spend about 5 years doing medical school, and then either we give the USMLE exams back home, step one, step two, sometimes step three, but step three typically is given in the US. For me personally, I was in the US when I gave my step one and step two 27 years ago. I had zero resources at that time. And so the daunting process starts when you start looking into the books for USMLE and looking at forums. And then you get certified as an ECFMG. And then you start doing the matching process, correct? The matching process is so difficult, it's expensive too. And then you mainly have to choose before that. Do you want to do like a family medicine residency? Do you want to go to internal medicine residency? Are you on a surgical track? And that's when the main question starts is what do I do? And that I think is a bottleneck for the whole problem that transpires from them. And then the residency can last between 3 years and 7 years, and fellowship and board certifications, right? Me, I've been certified through American Board of Internal Medicine and recertified because every 10 years you still have to go ahead and give the 10-hour exam to be recertified. And so that continues every 10 years, and nobody really talks about it during the residency, but that is kind of a difficult board exam that everybody has to go through. Somebody who's done nephrology fellowship or cardiology fellowship, they continue to have to do certification for their nephrology, but they also have to continue maintaining certification for their ABIM board, right? So this is what is important. Then we have time span. How many years do you spend doing that? You spend about, if you do everything right back to back, you spend between 7 to 15 years just going from the medical school time to maybe a fellowship. That's a lot of time that we spend studying. And then the worst thing is that only 60% of foreign medical graduates they get into the match program versus almost 94 to 95% of the US graduates, right? So given all this, the reason I'm saying that is because there is a reason the tracks have been created, right? The tracks that are there, which are alternative pathways, are mainly made and approved to fill up that gap that is going to be created for the physician shortages. We are expecting about 40,000 physicians projected short around 10 years from now, maybe 8 years from now. So going to the next slide, we'll talk more about, why we are seeing that shortage and where we are seeing it. So yeah, look at this one. This one is saying that there's probably going to be 124,000 openings throughout the nation. There's a space called post-acute space and a long-term care space, which is where I have been a senior leader for the last almost 4 to 5 years now. And that's the space that we have hired a lot of foreign medical graduates, and I'll talk more about it towards the end of our lecture here. But that we are going to see a lot more need for physicians in this sector because we have a lot more aging population that's going to be, coming into that space to live. And after the nursing home discharges, we are seeing a lot of complex patients being discharged from the hospital. So you're going to see a lot more need in the post-acute field, right? So then the rural gaps. Rural gaps is almost always like uh, um, a thing in most countries. Even in our home countries, when we do our 5 years of medical school or medical college, we are required to spend that 1 year, extra 1 year in a rural setting, maybe 1 or 2 years, which is a mandatory thing before you get a degree, because they need to fill that gaps uh, in the way that they can, provide a consistent providers, and the mandatory thing makes it happen. Here in America, there's nothing mandatory. People can live where they want, work where they want, and therefore most people end up choosing suburban areas or urban areas. And so the rural gaps are increasing, and that's where we can see that our programs will be eventually very, very successful, right? So next slide. Yeah, so this is our pain. Like, we all know about it. We are all attending this seminar. We have all been through this. Like, why is it hard for foreign medical graduates to match, right? There's a structural barriers here. We can't really control that, right? Definitely not something that we are never that we are not matching because we are not clinically capable. I'm actually a strong proponent of foreign medical training, even compared to the US training. I actually feel like foreign medical graduates are coming from a very strong practical training platform, because the amount of patients that get exposed to in a short time, giving them that experience needed to be successful, is much larger for the foreign trained graduates. But what can we do? We can't control it. We do know that the majority of the competitive medical programs in the US, big universities, many major urban universities, right? And maybe you grow up in our countries dreaming of going to maybe Harvard's or whatever, Princeton and this and that. And then when we come here, we realize that even though we are capable, the system here prioritizes admissions for domestic medical school graduates, and that's the initial screening process. And there's nothing we can do about it, right? So I've seen that a pattern forever. 27 years ago when I did that, it was there. It still exists even today. And there's also now a new threshold. They're looking at step one scores, which wasn't really the case in the past, and now it's getting even more. And then, visa sponsorships and constraints from limitations to work here and there, and J1 and H1, and these rules really keep changing currently, like every few months. In the past, it's always been a barrier for any university to consider giving training to somebody, honestly, because they do have to put in a lot of money and get lawyers hired to get that H1B. So working from their end, I do also understand why they don't pick up visa graduates. And then you can see that the number of residency spots has been the same for decades. The number of applicants has grown, and therefore there's a mismatch in the cap that we can see. And funding also affects that. A lot of fund cuts have happened because of different, legislators and changes in politics and stuff like that. Yeah. So the next slide. Okay, well, so the alternative settings make it possible for our foreign trained medical graduates to get experience, hands-on training in the skilled nursing spaces and long term. So let me just focus a little bit on what a skilled nursing setting is, right? Uh, Nursing homes is what they call them in the US. And me coming I'm from India. I came from India, and I know that nursing home concept in India is not the same as a nursing home concept in America, right? In my country back there 25, 30 years ago, a nursing home was a place that you keep parents or you keep elderly people that nobody really takes care of them, which is so rare. It is not considered the best thing to work for. It is not considered the best environment to keep your elderly or loved ones in. And when I came to the US, I came with a mindset that nursing homes are not a nice place to be in, even as a patient. But that mindset took me some time to change. As soon as I got exposed to the US post-acute space, which is also defined as skilled nursing and long-term space, it is very different. And that's what my company specializes in post-acute care. Post-acute care, what it really means is that when patients are in the hospital and they are super sick, let's say they have a fracture, the fracture gets repaired, they had a stroke and now they need therapy for recovering from a stroke, or they had a really bad infection and they need IV antibiotics that have to be continued way beyond 2 or 3 months. They technically cannot go home, correct? Because in the home, you have to have people to take care of them, people to cater to them, which is the US thing is that there's not many people in the house. And therefore, these nursing homes are like mini hospitals. I would put it in that they're exactly like a mini hospital. They're a step down from the hospital. You're accepting patients from the hospital still sick, and so the exposure you're getting there as a physician is to very sick patients. They have active fractures that are healing, they have active stroke that's recovering. You're still doing full blown medical care in that setting. The patients who end up staying there for a month or two and still don't have a place to go because they are not safe to go, or they don't have family to take care of, the insurance keeps paying for their stay in the something called long-term care setting. I have had patients live in the long-term care from months to sometimes decades, even 30 years. So that's a very complex population you see, and it's not something very easy. I have been correcting a lot of foreign medical graduates who've joined, my company, feeling that it's a very breezy space. You just go and do what you want. It's actually not that. You're actually working in a pretty hospital-like setting. You need to be on your toes. And so, but that's why I think the alternative pathway is allowing physicians to enter that space, because they do know that working in this space, you'll be ready to practice medicine on your own, completely by your own, in a span of 2 to 4 years. So that's what about the skilled nursing space is, and that's my company that specializes. It's called Altea, and we work with Mo very, very closely to help out foreign medical graduates who need that exposure. But also my company thrives on getting such highly skilled clinicians to enter and provide services in that space. We also have our own clinics. We have a geriatric clinic and chronic disease clinic that I have actually have two of my MDCE graduates, not MDCE graduate, but MDCE candidates run that clinic. So they get an outpatient experience, which is like running a OPD back in our countries. Then we have transitional care units, which are ICU settings, right? They are like ICU settings, so you get experience working in an ICU atmosphere as well. So overall, the alternative pathways that have been created by the state legislatures right now are allowing us to work into different parts of clinical care. These are good enough if you practice on a single everyday basis. You end up becoming proficient, efficient, and very confident in practicing by yourself. And I think we've been doing that in our company right now. Next one.
Not again. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, by the time you play
Okay.
around, yeah,
Now
they
it
go.
is. No, yep.
So this is what we face, like what Mo is doing right now, right? He's having there's something that is not working in the laptop or the computer that doesn't let us slide. But this is very good leeway for me to talk about this slide. Like, what do we actually face on the ground, right? The documentation and the EMR burden is one of the big things. Using a laptop, using a EMR is an electronic medical record system. Majority of the countries don't have it yet. All the patient data gets feeded into that EMR system. It gets fed into that EMR system. So whenever I interview our candidates, I'm always told that, oh, I'm used to seeing 40 patients a day. I just have to scribble a note and I move on from there. And that's not true, right? Hey, Mo, I think you went too far. It's
Yep,
running out.
yep, there it is.
Yeah. So this is what it is. It's tricky. Using computers is tricky, and that I think the most of our foreign graduates spend a lot of time understanding about documentation and the EMR. Most time goes in that space. We do provide a lot of training, but whoever is very savvy with computers have had that exposure back in their home country, they do fairly well. Otherwise, it's typically a culture shock for them, documenting on a patient, which they never did in the past. Then it's communication style, right? Me personally, I had to learn a lot of their communication style over many years because I came in from a place where we talk one direct line, we tell the patient what needs to be done and what they have to do. We never really asked them, we never really told them. It was never a conversation that we used to have. And my family members who are still doctors back in my home country, they continue to like be very direct, but not in the US. In the US, there has to be a very particular communication style. It has to be a give and take. You can't really tell the patient what to do. You have to ask and navigate it. And so that's something that is a learning culture for most of our foreign graduates, I feel. Even, talking like, interdisciplinary collaboration, you're going to not be alone. You're talking with your other doctors. You're talking with nurse practitioners. You're talking with physician assistants, social workers. You're talking with many other people that are taking care of the patient, physical therapist, for example, right? You have to be the leader. Because you're a doctor, and the end of the day, when you work in a place like that, in your mind or in your body, you might think like, I'm new to this space, I don't know how to do it. So you become more gullible, or you become more softer because you're maybe not confident, or you don't want to really ask. But then everybody on the team is looking at you like the leader already because you're going in with that degree of being an MD. So that's something that I always have to tell my team is like, always know that you're a doctor, continue to think that you're a doctor, and you work and act like a doctor. Not being rude, not being direct, but being available. And that's something we had to learn, all of us had to learn. And then seeing that patients documenting, and they can be, I'm pretty sure there'll be like, emotional stresses because some of you have taken breaks for a long time in your life. You've been for reasons that are not controlled, or reasons that are obviously controlled. You have decided to stay away from medicine for many years, 10 years. And so maybe there's no alternative income in that time, or there's been emotional stressors. All that adds up, right? And the big thing is the liability environment in the US. Not much in other countries. I never even heard about lawsuits back home, but this country is so popular for suing everybody and anything, right? And it's just that something that we definitely want to be scared of. You should never be scared of a lawsuit, because if you practice defensive medicine continuously for everything that you do, you're never going to practice medicine. So understanding the difference between knowing your content, doing the right thing, at the same time, not being scared about consequences and accepting the fact that everybody makes a mistake, but not getting burdened down by being liable for everything and anything is what understanding takes. It takes time. It takes time, right? So yeah, just wanted to go through this so that everybody's prepared that it's not easy. It requires a lot of hard work, and it's going to be a learning process, even if you join this program later. Next one. Yeah, I mean, this one in general just talks over everything that I said. Adaptability, you need to be able, you need to be open, you need to be humble, you need to come in with a mindset that I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow. I'm not the best, right? I mean, not everybody, but there are one or two doctors that come in with a lot of ego on their mind. They are surgeons back in their home country, or they've had authority in a very large academic center, that they have been a program director, let's say, or they have been a director of some kind of a big department. And when that shift is made, unknowingly they kind of put that ahead of time, saying that I'm a big surgeon or I'm a big orthopedic surgeon or I've done this and that, and nobody really cares, to be honest with you. In the US, you may be a neurosurgeon, you may be a cardiothoracic surgeon, or you may be in internal medicine or family medicine. It's all about how humble you are, how much you adapt. It really, really matters down to that level. There is a respect for medicine in this country, but nobody's going to bend backwards to respect you if you are not going to be, humble. So that's something that we all need to learn as time goes. You have to be very resilient. We've all come through this. We've seen very hard times in our lives back in our countries. We're coming from different exposures. I do believe that resilience is something that we are all carrying with us. you know we recover from setbacks. We need to continue doing that. It's never going to stop in medicine. And then having to understand, like, emotional intelligence is something you need in life. You need in your professional life, you need in your personal life. Understanding what people are saying to you, understanding what feedback you're getting from your peers, understanding what's going on in the place of work. You need to learn to read the room and the team. This is that, just like this slide says here, it's very important. In our system in America, nobody is going to come and yell at you or scream at you and give you a negative feedback on your face. It's something that culturally doesn't happen in this country here, and therefore it's really hard to read. If somebody comes and tells you really nicely that, maybe you need to change this, or maybe you need to come on time to work, or maybe you need to finish your notes in time, this actually means a lot more than they're saying. This is actually a feedback they're giving you. They're not your friends to make friendship with you and hang out, right? They're telling you something because they see a deficiency, and that's what the reading in the room is, definitely. And that's something you learn with time. Next slide. Oh yeah, so this is the same thing again. What these pathways, MDCE pathway, which I'll talk about more, what is this pathway, right? I mean, it is, you're going to be assigned to a population of patients. You're the real doctor. You're seeing real patients, way more than externship, right? Because you do have a supervision of an MD, but you have your own individual license to practice. And so decisions are taken by you. So it's a very clean, straightforward, clinical hands-on experience. It maintains a record that you have practiced in a particular state, you have a state license, and I do believe that it generally is contributing to the gaps in the system. Definitely not a substitute for medical residency, right? And you're not going to become a specialist. I always get a question that, can I practice a specialty after doing this pathway? No, not in the MDCE track at the moment. Of course, things are changing, reforms are happening, but at the moment, once you get this pathway done, and if you don't want to do, residency or matching, you end up getting a primary practice unrestricted licensure, which you can practice in outpatient, you can practice in post-acute, and in rural settings as well. So, but there is no guaranteed like a long-term career option that we know of yet. But as I said, there's 134,000 gaps in the system happening in the next 8 years. So everybody is going to have a job for a really, really long time. Next one. Okay, so this is the meat, correct? This is the MDCE program, which is a medical doctors and clinical experience, which is what we are doing at Altea. And Mo's been the lead. He's in our diet. He's everything. Like literally, I think that without him, this wouldn't have been what it is today. He's the owner of the whole program. I've been assigned as a program director for this role. In my company, as I said, we've onboarded 30. We have 20 more waiting for license in the state of Washington. And we have openings that are coming up gradually in Illinois, Florida, Wisconsin, and many more states. What this program is that, yeah, it allows you to practice medicine under a supervisory role. So there's supervision. The supervisor who you're assigned to is mainly assigned to do a chart review for your patients, make sure they're available for consultations, but the ownership is heavily on the shoulder of the physician. This is not a residency pathway. There's not going to be teaching and hand holding. You go in and you start practicing medicine, learning every single day. So you get a license from the state, which is an independent license. You're fully responsible to, take care of patients. We're not going to co-sign your notes and tell you like every single day what to do, because then that way it creates an autonomy. You're able to develop a style, learn early on. Definitely, we're not going to let you fail, because we are continuously watching what you're doing, what orders are being put. Everything is being watched, so nothing to be scared of, but it gives you a lot more autonomy. You do need a ECFMG certification for the Washington state. You do not need a step 3 for the Washington state for now, but I believe that's something they may add in the next 1 or 2 years. You do need a step 3 for the other states, which are the Illinois, Florida, Wisconsin, and many more to come. And we, as our company, we are placing our MDCE grads in the post-acute skilled nursing home, a semi-ICU setting, and a clinic setting. Okay, so I am still building the infrastructure. The program is only 3 months old, and so as we onboard more and more physicians, and with the help of more and getting feedback from the people that have onboarded, we are continuously developing the pathways for this program. Okay, next one. Yeah, so it feels like this, right? This is the day-to-day reality of being a doctor practicing in a nursing home. So you're a physician of record, your name is gone on every patient's chart, the patient calls you their doctor. So you are their doctor. And the team around you, like the team, the nurses, the clinical nurse assistants, the social worker, everybody looks at you, like I said before, like the doctor. These spaces that you work in post-acute, they're not used to having a doctor every day. In the olden times, a doctor would go there once in a month to see patients. Most of these were under the nursing control. And now that they're seeing doctors, they are so excited. You will get all the attention. You are so respected. They look up to you for everything. So you feel good, because all the years on medicine you have really trained and studied, you can feel that you can use that skill set right now. And the pace is different, of course. I talked about probably going to end up seeing 20 patients a day, not 40. The panel is 40 to 60 patients in the building, but you will be ending up seeing about 20 patients a day back to back. It takes about 4 to 5 hours to see that many patients, another 2, 3 hours to write notes from those patients. And notes can be done from your home too. They have to be closed within 2 days at the max, not more than that, the notes. So basically you are in the building seeing patients about 4 to 6 hours, and then you go home and do the rest of the notes. I do believe that this becomes a strong part of your resume and a CV for the future applications of job. And so just wanted to outline here that it's not an easy breezy thing. You still need to study on a daily basis by yourself. And I've had very good success stories. In fact, a very short story that I can say right now is I have a doctor that did cardiology back in his own country, and he comes from a country where there has been some situations of unrest, like a war-like situation, and he didn't opt to come to America. He had to. He has small kids, and so he took his wife and his small kids, moved to America. He's an asylum candidate right now here. And so he had to start all over again, going from cardiology, putting stent, saving hearts, to now back to square one, correct? And it's a hard journey. And he's probably in his late 40s now already, to the point where he may have been considering to retire back in his home country, 10 years. And so it's a really tough spot to be financially, emotionally, and even professionally. But since I've worked with him for the last 3 months, he's been a fantastic example of the resilience and the courage that's needed to revamp yourself. He didn't want to go into internal medicine training. He doesn't think that he needs to do cardiology again, because maybe he doesn't have the time, or he doesn't feel the need, because he understood that his pathway will give him the ability to practice internal medicine And with his prior knowledge of cardiology, he's a star in the building. People are still going to him to ask him questions about cardiology. He was a little bit shy in the beginning, and over the 3 months now, he understands the ownership. He's become such more confident. His family is happy. He's able to support his kids, and he's back in the space of being a physician. That thing that we always I tell my colleagues, being a physician is like swimming. Once you learn to swim, you always know how to swim when you fall in the water. You may go for like a decade without being in the water, and then after 10 years you're like, oh, I don't know if I'll do it. If I drop in the water, am I going to drown? No. It's same like a physician. As soon as you enter the space where you're able to see a patient and diagnose and treat, everything comes back to life. It is magical. It is truly magical. So that's one success story I remember. I have plenty more to share, but today we don't want to run out the time, but yeah, some of the time. Next slide. Oh yeah, so this is something Mo can definitely expand on, but this is about state legislations. I am in the state of Washington, obviously, so I know that the legislation here has been pretty solid and active. We are requiring ECFMG certification, approve the pathway, which is, I think, a total of 4 years. There's also Illinois, and then you can see Florida, Wisconsin, and some other states. And I think Mo is a better person to know about how things are rolling. But what I hear from him repeatedly is that it's not going to stop. I feel like the way we are doing it now, in the next 1 or 2 years, I think majority of the states in the US are going to be open to the option of foreign medical graduates coming in training and getting that hands-on experience. Yeah, that's it. I think I have one more slide, maybe the last one. Yeah, small things, right? I mean, you need to stay informed about what's happening, what are your options. Let's say you don't get matched or you don't want to go to match, you're just done with like training, and this is a good pathway because you can enter the pathway, don't need to study much, you need to just continue to learn clinically, like I said here, until you get in, do something, read every day. You can work as a scribe, maybe an interpreter or a medical assistant. Most of our candidates are coming from some kind of clinical exposure to the US so that you don't get really daunted as soon as you move into a building, like what's happening. I have a very sweet foreign medical graduate, older woman, older kids and stuff like that. So she went without exposure to US clinical space at all since she moved here from her country 20, 30 years ago. And the first day she walks into the nursing home and she smells the nursing home, she tells me it reminded of her days back in her country. So how small things, right? Even the smell of a hospital can remind you of your days back. But the main thing is that because of Mo has been creating this VR dogs, IMG community, and this stigma, you're not alone. This is a community that's been given to you on a platter. Take it. I didn't have any of this 25 years. I didn't have anything. I used to remember buying books for my exams or my USMLE training. I used to buy those books, get them shipped here. Take 15 days to get shipped from East Coast to Washington. And then I would go and study in Barnes and Nobles alone. That's a bookstore. I don't think that we still have that bookstore around. But my studying was mostly paper-based with no contacts in community. I'm pretty sure if I knew people at that time and what people were doing in other parts of the country, different states, I would have maybe considered applying to medical residencies in some other spots because, as I said before, it's so limited to get into a very good university. And no regrets, because I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter which college you go to, which university you go to, where you do a medical residency training. Nobody really cares, right? Um, the fact is that 20 years down the line, what you do for work, if the work makes you happy or not, that is very important, right? I think I'm done with the slides here, but I'm happy to take on any questions and more. Would
Yeah,
love for you to say
yeah.
something.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhumkar. That was an amazing presentation, and we'll get to before we kind of get the audience's
Yeah,
questions. I want to ask you like a few questions
yeah,
from your experience. I hear a lot of IMGs who want to get into the space. Maybe they're waiting for an interview, in the post-acute care space or something like that. And everybody asks me, hey, like, what should I brush up on, to be successful on day one? So, what do you think?
Hmm.
Is there something that they can do, while they're interviewing and looking for a post-acute care job?
Well, like I was just saying, the last slide of mine, right? As when you're waiting either for an interview or after the interview, when you're waiting for your medical license, I think the gold standard is continuing to read like basic knowledge. And the best thing for our graduates that are coming into our program is almost everybody is USMLE Step 2. They have given their Step 2 exams, correct? And some of them are preparing for Step 3 as well. So continue. I would say personally, what I've seen is if you continue to read books that are meant for your Step 3 exams, they have all the clinical content in it. They have everything that you need to start on your day one. And you have to give your assembly Step 3 no matter what. Even if you don't give it now because you want to come to Washington, it doesn't need it. Eventually, at the time of your graduation, before that, the pilot does require you to give your Step 3. So studying for the Step 3, learning what you do in a patient's case scenarios, all that when you read and when you experience that firsthand in the building when you go, it is super helpful. Again, first few days, maybe a week or two, you're not alone. There is always orientation, so you're not putting your alone space. But for medical doctors everywhere in the world, we all know that reading on a daily basis is what gets it going. I don't think there's any option. I am like 27 years old into medical field here in the US. I still read. There's no option.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's a great and point about step three because I remember like I passed my step three a couple years ago and I had to relearn step two. So I think if you're doing step two, just do step three at the same time because it's
Yeah.
mainly similar. It's like the only difference is like what the CCS part when you're like moving patients around and doing orders and all that. So and that can be exposure to like kind of like an EHR system, Dr. Bumkar, for a lot
Yeah.
of the IMGs.
Yeah. EHR system is something that you can't learn by yourself, right? Because you do have to look at the EHR. We unfortunately cannot train people on the EHR mainly because you need to have access, you need to be an employee, um, and you can't just practice it anywhere because everywhere you need an access to it, you have to be an employee. The good thing is that whenever I interview, there's a lot of medical assistants I end up interviewing who are working. They are pretty familiar with how the EHR works. So if you
Yeah.
have some exposure, if you've seen it, nothing daunting, nothing to be scared about. It's very easy, very easy.
Yeah, yeah. And Dr. Bunker, a lot of the IMGs speak with, want to work in Washington State. And I tell them sometimes, like, Altea is hiring in Washington State, but there's not positions always available.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about, people like, should IMGs be open to different states and kind of be realistic about their options?
Yeah, I do believe honestly that we always have to keep our options open. Like we said, we first launched in the Washington state. So obviously because we launched here first, people have been applying and giving interviews since December, correct? There's only, like I said, there's only a certain amount of buildings and spots available, and we've kind of started to fill. I'm not saying that we are done yet. You never know, like, more openings happen, and I would rather hire a doctor than a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant. So I'm always on a lookout for the best doctors. But first thing is giving your step three. Don't be lazy in giving step three because that opens up your options even more. And then I'm not the one to tell you to apply for multiple state licenses because I know it costs money. But if it's possible, look for a option for giving step three and applying for step three states. So currently, I think Washington and Florida, where we are adding candidates to. You have to keep your
Awesome.
mindset open. Yeah.
Yeah. So last question before I give it to the viewers, Dr. Bumkar, what are some of the red flags that you see when you're interviewing a candidate or when you see them on the onboarding process? Like, what are some things that you've seen that, does not help a doctor become successful?
That's a hard one, right? I mean, so I haven't really come across really bad candidates, to be honest. Everybody is working hard and they want to be doing what they're doing. So we have when people apply and come through for the interviews, they are really passionate, right? And they've been through so much in their life, they really want to work hard. Even then, what I've seen is that they come in, some couple of them I've seen, not a lot, but they come in with the expectation that it's going to be super easy. A few of them, they maybe have worked as a telemetry technician in the industry here and are just basically observers. And you can't just be an observer, you have to be a participator in the field of medicine. And so when you take back and you're just looking, you're not participating, like I said, a small talk, community involvement, talking and connecting with people really, really helps. And if you are not going to be doing that, you need to play the game that exists in the US, right? You can't just do whatever our country, it in our country, we didn't require to talk to the nurses. No, this is not your country. So having that mindset that now you're working in a space that is not, and leaving behind the toxic traits back home, adapting completely to the US space where it's all about how you present, how they perceive you. They should look at you and be comfortable coming to you for questions rather than you holding a wall and saying, I'm a doctor, I'm not going to answer these questions for you. And that doesn't really go well long term because we don't, it's not like we don't own the buildings, right? If the staff in the building is finding you as a disruptor, is finds you as a person who's not someone that they can come and talk to easily, then they are going to complain about you. And similar to medical residency, nothing different. In medical residency, also, if your preceptors are complaining that they are not talking, you will get fired. Unfortunately, not just in the medical residency, not just in our program in MDC, everywhere, even till today, at my stage 26 years later, if I also have a chance of getting fired if I'm acting rude, disrupting the space, and not being respectful. I'm just giving it, I'm not just throwing it out like that. I'm not going to get fired, but I'm just saying you have to be always careful no matter what stage of life you are. You never take in that autonomy. So I feel like that is a red flag when I find somebody who's closed up, doesn't really want to learn, doesn't really want to open up to a new atmosphere for work, doesn't read, basis knowledge based on what they learned 10 years, 20 years ago in your med school. You have to read every day and you have to be super fast. You can't see one patient in a day, two patients in a day, because this is a very fast-paced atmosphere. You need to be on the ground, seeing patients back to back, back to back, back to back, documenting. That's all a part of the workflow in the US, right? So residency also, you're doing night shifts, you're doing weekend shifts, you're seeing patients. Everything is fast paced in the US. There's no breaks. So as long as you come into the mindset that is hard work, you are successful. So I'm not seeing any red flags, but this is like one or two I thought about.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bhumkar. So we have time for 2 or 3 questions. We have 10 minutes before Dr. Bhumkar has to leave. So if you have a question, please raise your hands up. You can use the raise the hand button and we can take your questions. All right. Any
Nobody
questions?
has questions.
Nobody has questions today?
How come you guys don't have any questions? You need to talk and, you've made the point to come to this webinar. See, this is what I'm saying. If you are shy and if you're not going to be involved, then it's going to be hard, right? I mean, Mo has created such a good platform for you guys. He's bringing in speakers and presenters. Try to open up. Each
Yeah.
of you should ask me one question.
Yeah. Yeah, and if somebody just wants to unmute, they can unmute themselves as well and just ask the question if it's if they're having a hard time finding the button.
Are all of these are of all of you in the US right now or spread out across time zones?
I think everybody's in the US.
Then no problem. We need to all talk. I've seen a couple of people unmute Nekechi, and yeah, feel free to ask any questions or at least give your comments if you don't have any questions.
Yeah, and I see
Open the
Dr.
mic
Ben.
up. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Reem. Hello, Dr. Nishita, Dr. Mohammed. Thank you for this presentation. Actually, it was so informative. Yeah, actually, I'm IMG. I have my step 1, step 2, and I will have my OET so soon and get hopefully my ECFMG certification. Yeah, so actually, I really like you said, the US experience. So it's really different from our country. So I had an observership in geriatric here, and now I'm working as a medical assistant. And actually, yeah, the communication with patient, it's different, and actually the EMR system, it's so different. So yeah, this is the huge shock, as you said, like. But still, like with when you get into this to learn the EMR, the communication, so I have back my the knowledge, the medical knowledge, and everything. Like it comes back, and I feel the confidence. Yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah.
good.
So,
Very good. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right. You're right. And there are plenty of EMRs. It's not like you get access to one EMR, you learn it, and now you're like, okay, cool, now I know the EMR. Every state has about 5, 6 EMRs, and so the
yeah.
EMRs keep changing. And so adapting to that earlier. But again, as I said, the most common, like I said, is documentation and EMRs where it takes time for us. Yeah.
Yeah, this is correct. Yeah. Actually, I have a question. So, I'm really interested in this pathway of Washington State since I have my step 2, but still I'm gonna start preparing for step 3, but still I don't have it. So actually, I don't know if I need to apply. So do I have to apply for, like you said, you are in Altea clinic. So do I have to apply directly or just go through the
I
VR
think
docs?
I have
Yeah.
to do more. Yeah.
You can just and I can once you're done with your steps, I usually tell people like who apply without ECFMG, just reach out to me when you have your ECFMG because I can't help you before that. And so there's like an application link that I will put on the link. It should be on the website as well. Like if
Mhm.
anybody wants to apply and has their ECFMG certificate, you guys can get it as well. But
Yeah, you
Okay.
I'll put it in the chat.
to have the certification because that is required by the state to even process your application. Without the ECFM certificate, they will not process any application.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Dr. Remban Khalid, I put it in the chat right now, the
Okay.
link to application. So once you have your ECMG certificate, like you can apply to that link. So yeah, so the step is like when you submit your resume, we forward it to Altea and Dr. Bhumkar reviews the resume. So and then it will depend on Altea to invite you for the interview after that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I see Dr. Someone I'm muted. I think I will maybe pronounce your name wrong, Dr. Unachukua, right? Unachukua?
Yeah,
Yeah, I see you unmuted. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay, no. All right. We have quite time for one or two more questions. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I think Dr. Bunka is very hard, so we might not get her again. So if you guys have any questions.
No, it's not about that. It's about like, I mean, not having any question also is concerning because do you know everything about the program or like, do you have any question? I'm going to pick up on Alexander. I like the name. Do you want to go?
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
Tell me about you.
I appreciate for information that you told about this opportunity, this program. I'm in the start of the journey. I'm preparing for step 1. So it's for now it's like for informational purposes because I have to pass exams and get ECFMG certification.
Very good. Good luck. Yeah. That's another
Thank you so much.
1 year. Don't take too much time between the exams though. What people make a mistake is they go for 2 years between the exams, and so the faster you do it, focusing 1 year and getting all 3 exams is the best way to get it all done quickly. And that's what I did. I'm not
Thank
giving,
you.
but I myself got all 3 exams in 14 months, 14 months timeline. So
Yeah, thank you for your advice.
good luck, guys. Good luck, everybody here. Don't
All
want to
right.
force people to ask questions, but
All right. All right. Well, thank you so
Actually,
much.
I have a question. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a question. Yeah. So in your presentation, you said that this path it cannot be a long-term like solution, or like if I get a limited license, do I have the chance to get a permanent license, and so I don't need to go through the residency anymore? Like,
yeah, there is.
yeah.
That's the pathway that we have created in Washington, right? It's like if you practice under this limited, I don't want to say it's limited, but it's like a supervised license, I would think, right? It's a supervised
Mhm,
license. You have a full license to practice. You're independent. This is supervision license. You will
mhm,
you do this for 4 years, and then you give your step three. You do
mhm,
have an ability to get unrestricted independent license to practice primary care medicine. Whether that's in Washington or outside, I am not so clear about it. That's something
mhm.
Mo would probably be able to answer, but it's going to be 4 years after the current job. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically, yeah, it's 4 years. And right now, like the FSMB is working on a compact where IMGs who are like, working in one state can work in the other state. So that's like a couple years down the road, like between states who have alternative licensing pathways. But yeah, you can get a full license. But the thing is, like, and I'm honest with people, you won't be board certified for now. Like maybe in the future, like, you might be board certified. We're trying to get the boards involved. But for now, you won't be board certified, but you'll have a full MD license. I was speaking to the medical commission the other day. Almost 25% of physicians in Washington are not board certified. So there's like still like a lot of work opportunities in Washington. So you can work in outpatient settings and post-acute, not in hospitals, because to get
Mm.
privileges you need like to be board eligible or board certified. But there's still like a lot of work opportunities once you do it. And a lot of people do, like residency after, and so it depends on like what's your because like after working a couple years in post-acute, like you'll be the top candidate in every residency program in the country, I think so.
And even if you don't apply for residency, there's a lot of jobs. You just have to be open to, you can't choose. I don't know where you're located, but that's one thing I actually don't want our candidates to be fixated on. I want to live in a big city like New York. I want to live in Chicago. I don't want to go to the suburbs. I mean, who cares? Like, you're not going to be taken into a big city in a big university. You need to start accepting that fact rather than pushing yourself through a system where, no, I only want to work in a big city. Once you give that up and you're able to work in suburbs and smaller cities, your options for jobs are always going to go up.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think see what we're out of time,
Yeah.
and we have to let
Oh,
Dr.
yeah,
Bhumkar
one,
go.
I have to go.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye. Good luck with everything.